Weird and Worthwhile podcast.
So I go do that. I check the weather, and there's like this giant storm like about to like hit, and it was like I had just woken up. I suppose because the pressure changes, and then I looked out my window. It's 4:20 in the morning, and like my neighbor is like outside on his porch, like smoking a cigarette. I was like, oh, there's Ryan. Like he got the message from the storm too, and then I just went back to bed.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like, the
supreme
storm doesn't
logic
need me
right
right
there.
now.
Like, oh yeah, of course. Like he got the message too. So yeah.
From the electromagnetic field of this like lightning storm. It's like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, I wonder if there's greater thought transference for humans during periods of like electrostatic stuff in the air. Like, are we able to?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Probably.
It definitely affects your brain functioning, like the atmosphere and the electric and the magnetic pull of the earth and like all these things and think about birds. They fly like thousands of miles. How do they even know which direction to go? They don't have a compass. They don't have GPS. They're tuning into the electromagnetic fields, and they have like a built-in compass.
Yeah, they have some interesting navigation systems that we still don't quite know what's going on. Same thing for fish. Like they don't really understand how fish are always going back to the same place to lay their eggs as where they were born, and like navigating huge distances to and like huge efforts like against the current to get to this one place because it just has to be there and nowhere else. Um,
So we're like, related to fish distantly, right? And like we're probably downstream of their evolution, right? So a lot of like the cells are very similar. Like it's just like it's crazy how like just a few DNA changes like makes like a different species. But the point is this: like we have some very similar tools. We just don't develop them because we don't need to. But if you want to develop them, you can. You can consciously, tune your sense to the weather, and like cows can predict when it rains. And I remember Sadhguru talking about how he wanted to learn how to do that, and now he can predict it when it rains because he just
mm,
pays very close attention to minute changes in the climate.
that is so cool.
It's such a beautiful example for me for so many things. Like, one is like how much we can connect with this earth if we want to. And having lived in many different settings, like in big cities as well as in the jungle, it's I forgot what I wanted to say. I just like I thought of the jungle and I was like I was
Became
there.
entranced by the
I was there.
beautiful memories
Yeah,
of the
no, but
jungle.
like there's like so many different ways of being that come with it. So I forgot what I wanted to say, but like one thing to this is like living in like a very like remote place on a remote island where I was managing a luxury resort, a small boutique luxury resort. So like very natural remote setting. Was like my senses became so attuned to my surroundings and like I I allowed my system to be so much more open to senses that when I went to Germany to visit friends and family, like I almost broke down in the metro because it's just too much information for my system.
Mm.
And then obviously, like when I spend times in bigger cities, I try to dial down on this sensitivity. Um, and then going back to what I wanted to say earlier. So it's so beautiful how much we can attune ourselves to earth and to nature. And the other thing that I really like about this example is like just another example of what's possible, like even though we're not taught in school, like, hey, you can forecast the weather by attuning to it. Just like one example of how many possibilities there are, what we can actually do if we just decide to, if we just want to.
Mm. But yeah, I wonder if that's partly why some people don't feel that happy in big cities, is because they actually have to down regulate their sensitivity and their attunement just in order to not be swarmed with information. And they probably are already being swarmed anyway. There's a lot of input, there's a lot of sensory and informational input if you're living in a big metropolitan area.
Mhm.
And yeah, your system would become attuned to that. It would be like, okay, we're just going to start filtering out a lot of this stuff because this is too much.
Yeah, for me right now, like due to some jobs, like I am spending some time in more like city-like places. Um, And I notice it very strongly in my system, you know, like when I spend like too much time there, it's like, whoa, 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 what's happening? You know, like I find myself kind of like in a current of like thoughts and ideas. I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, like, well, I need a moment to ground back and go into nature and come back to myself to not be swept up in like um currents of maybe beliefs that are swirling around there, of things that
Mm.
are, you know, like I don't really like identify with myself as such, but yeah. So that's an interesting observation for me right now.
Mm, thank you for that.
Yeah, it's like if you don't like leave your house or like, go outside, that would be like a small example that maybe some people can connect with. Like if you don't look up from the screen for a long time, you end up kind of like in this like stagnant little swampy like mind area where the and then you like stand up and go outside and like the just kind of just like releases, you know, all and like the current of the environment just kind of like washes away all the stagnant water that but
Yeah.
I feel that to a greater extent like when I don't leave like my little city like for a long time or if I don't travel for a long time like I'm like wow like I'm really craving to like get out in the mountains so it's like a just a bigger area kind of like expands my mind I guess and you get that like yeah just like connectedness to the larger self.
Yeah, big environments are good for that. They just kind of naturally pull me into a more expansive state too. And I can see a long distance when I can like see the sky
Right.
above me. And you know, when the walls are not there.
I think
Um,
maybe like some people get that from like looking at a big city skyline.
yeah, I'm
I'm
sure
not one
people
of those
can.
people, but
Yeah, I don't want to hate on city dwellers too hard. I think a lot of people make it work and they make it work really well. I just think there's certain things that, you
I get
know,
overwhelmed by like big ugly buildings.
yeah, there's challenges to it. And perhaps by identifying those challenges, certain solutions can present themselves. So I want to be solution oriented whenever possible. And it all starts with awareness. But we can only get so far by talking, and eventually we need to meditate or do certain things which make it easier, and we aren't just adding information to the pile. Yeah, but maybe that's something for another time because I feel like we've chatted for a while here tonight, and it's been great. And I, for one, have enjoyed it. And I thank you all so much for listening and for being here.
Yeah, it was great, Nani. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, guys. So beautiful to talk to you.
Good night to one and all, or good day,
Wonderful.
or good morning, whatever it might happen to be. Goodbye. Thanks for listening. We have some links in the description of ways that you can connect with us directly. At this stage, that's something we're offering. So you can book a call to speak with either one of us for 15 minutes. Let us know what you thought. Let us know people that you think we should have on the podcast. We really would value your feedback. There's also some links for ways you can book personal coaching calls with me. Our first conversation is free, and I'm here to help people move through harmful habits. And I would love to help you in this way.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I personally benefited from the coaching. So like book a free call with Luke, or if you just want to shoot the shit with me, book a free call with me via Calendly, and we'll do a quick little Zoom call and just talk about whatever. You can follow me on Twitter, Chris James USA, and yeah, subscribe to me to my newsletter on Substack. And there's a lot of great stuff on the blog there for you guys to check out. So thank you again for listening.
Thanks for listening. See you next time, guys.
Limbic.
Subscribe to Weird and Worthwhile Podcast.